I'm Elamin Abdelmahmoud, and this is Commotion. Look, Waiting for Godot is having a moment. Within a single year, it's going to be staged in London's West End, as well as in Toronto, Stratford, and on Broadway. That's where Keanu Reeves and Alex Winter, those are two names that you can't say without also being like, you know them as Bill and Ted. That's Bill and Ted, are starring in their version, which previews now and opens later this month.
Help me. It hurts? Hurts. He wants to know if it hurts.
No one ever suffers but you. I don't count. I'd like to hear what you'd say if you had what I have.
It hurts?
Hurts. He wants to know if it hurts.
So that's a bit of Samuel Beckett's iconic play, Waiting for Godot. This is an almost 75-year-old play that seems like it's having a moment right now. What's going on there? Ashley Murphy has a lot of thoughts on this. Ashlyn, good to see you, buddy. How's it going?
Yeah, you too. It's good.
Good.
Yeah, let's get existential on Maine, man.
Let's do it. And you know what? It's time. It's time to do so. I mean, 4 productions within a year. That's 4 productions big productions that we know about. Why? Mm-hmm. Why do you think this play is resonating right now?
Yeah, absolutely. So in Waiting for Godot, and I will say there's a couple schools of thoughts about the pronunciation.
The pronunciation, yes, of course.
Yeah, Beckett was always a Godot guy, so I'm gonna go with Godot.
She's going traditional Irish. Got it.
So the play, I mean, it's in the title, right? It's about these two guys, Vladimir and Estragon, who are waiting for Godot. What is Godot? We don't really know. Does he ever show up? Who's to say? You'll have to see it and find out. But it winds up being about these two lifelong friends who are waiting for something. Maybe it's a change in their lives. Maybe it's God. There's lots of schools of thought on this. But I think, we're in kind of an absurd time at the moment. I think it's safe to say.
Couldn't tell. Don't know what you're talking about. I have no idea what you mean. Yeah.
Yeah. The news cycle is a little spooky right now. Mm-hmm. So I think something like Waiting for Godot that proposes, maybe in the absence of pushing back against things we don't like, we can just wait it out and wait for something to save us without us needing to interfere. And I think for a lot of reasons that feels like a really almost kind of comforting narrative right now.
Spoiler alert, it doesn't come. So great. Thank you so much for taking us there. There's one of the big reasons we're having this conversation is that there's so much buzz around this Keanu Reeves production. Keanu Reeves, Alex Winter, going to be in Broadway. And for anyone who just doesn't know them as Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure, these two really fun, dopey high school kids who are like, you know what? We're having a hard time with history class. This is what you're missing.
Socrates. The only true wisdom consists in knowing that you know nothing. That's us, dude.
I mean, do yourself a favor and actually just go watch Bill and Ted. But in the meantime, Ashley, why do you think this idea of Bill and Ted versus this play, why is that pairing kind of making sense to people?
Yeah, I'll share that I saw Bill and Ted for the first time really recently.
Huge.
After I'd heard about the Godot news. So I sort of came at it from, I think, the opposite way that most might, where, I'm sort of watching it and I'm like, man, this is two guys who want the world around them to change without necessarily needing to do too much on their own to affect that change, right?
Yeah.
And what's also so fun about the Broadway production, so it's being directed by Jamie Lloyd, who folks might know. He directed the Sunset Boulevard that just won a bunch of Tonys.
Yeah.
And the Evita with Rachel Zegler as well. So he's known for doing these high concept yet stripped down versions of existing texts that kind of fundamentally change what they are. And so with this production of Waiting for Godot, the first pictures, it looks like he's setting it in a skate park, which is kind of crazy.
Clearly in conversation, right, with Bill and Ted. Clearly in conversation with an iconic text, right? Yeah.
Totally. It almost feels like this sort of commentary on bygone days of being able to be a teenager and being able to be reasonably carefree. And then you grow up and things are not carefree. Things are actually quite fraught and complicated and existential. So I think, it's a bit of a depressing pairing in a way, but also it's a really interesting conversation between these two generations of the same friends as they kind of talk over the years to each other. It's very interesting.
Let me tell you, someone who grew up watching Bill and Ted and being like, we are promised a different future, and then getting to that future and being like, I was promised a different future. The vibe do be hitting different. Keanu Reeves and Alex Winter have been really close friends ever since they did Bill and Ted. I want you to take a listen to this moment from this interview that they did with NPR about why they both wanted to do Waiting for Godot now.
I'd read it when I was a teen, and, there was a certain sequence of let's go, we can't, why not, we're waiting for Godot that stuck with me. And just the riches of the text and the themes are profound.
There's an immediacy to the play right now that we can lean into. It's a very emotional play to do as you've lived life and you stand on that stage and you say you're both with a friend you've known a very long time and just all the life that's happened to you that the play is about. And in some ways they're running away from that pain, these two guys. They're constantly, that's the whole kind of joke of Waiting for Godot is this constant distraction from the immediate present. And the immediate present is not great.
The immediate present is not great. I wonder what makes him say that. I will say, now this is 4 sources of being like, Elamin, you got to change your pronunciation of Godot to Godot. So fine, it's you and it's Beckett and it's Keanu Reeves and Alex Winter. But I'm curious, what do you make of what Alex Winter is saying there? Like this idea, like this play is going to land in a moment where we're looking around being like, things are not great.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting, right? Because historically, the Beckett estate has actually been quite picky about how you're able to do Godot in terms of casting. Like there's been a few instances, the Beckett estate said, no, you can't cast women and things like that. But what has always been kind of up for interpretation by directors and productions is, how are you going to set this play? I think the dialogue is so kind of sparse and leaves a lot of room for interpretation. Yes, it's about distraction, but also you can kind of argue it's not about anything. And with that, it can be about everything, right? I think a lot of directors and creatives are pulled to this text because you can really imprint whatever meaning you want onto it. And right now, when we're in these strange times of political turmoil, climate turmoil, economic turmoil. That's a lot of different turmoils. And I think Waiting for Godot, there are versions of this play to be made that respond to and really interact with all of these different things that are kind of hard about everyday life.
I'm interested in that thing that you just said there about the idea of the Beckett estate being kind of picky about where and how this play gets produced, because on the other hand, it seems to be a play that gets regularly produced during difficult times specifically, right? So like this idea of like this was staged in Sarajevo during the war, South Africa during apartheid, New Orleans right after Katrina, in San Quentin prison, to name just a few of this is a pretty particularly intense setting to sort of stage this play. Why does it lend itself, you think, to places and moments where people are struggling in that way?
Yeah, I mean, ultimately, I think it winds up coming back to sort of the central question of the play, which is what or who is Godot, and when is he or it gonna get here and save us or change our lives or change our circumstances in some way? Again, coming back to the idea that Waiting for Godot really can be whatever you want to project onto it. We as a society, we've been waiting for Godot or our next paycheck or a rescue boat or the delivery of the supplies we need. We've been waiting for Godot for millennia. And so I think it's really unsurprising that, again, now that we're sort of experiencing this convergence of different social issues, we're seeing so many Waiting for Godots go in different directions based on how the play speaks to a particular team or director.
30 seconds left here. The Toronto production just opened. Stratford opens early next year. Is there such thing as like, maybe this bit too much saturation of this play in this moment right now?
I don't think so. I mean, if you think about Coal Mine Theatre in Toronto and then the Stratford Festival, you have one of the most intimate theatre spaces in the city. You're so close to the actors, you're so close to the action. And then at the Stratford Festival, you're in the Festival Theatre, which is a bit of a cave. It's huge. One of the bigger theatre spaces in the country. So I think no matter what, when you go to see different productions of the same show, you'll have a really different experience. And in this case, I think these very different physical spaces will really affect how people experience the play.
Ashley Murphy, your heart is true. You're a pal and a confidant. Thanks so much for being on the show today, friend. I really appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
Oh, you're the best. Ashley Murphy is a Global Mail's theater reporter. Waiting for Godot, I'm working on it. Adjusting my pronunciation. Is now at the Coal Mine Theatre here in Toronto, and the version starring Keanu Reeves and Alex Winter on Broadway is in previews now and opens at the end of the month. My name is Elamin Abdelmahmoud. This show is called Commotion. Hey, I hope you have a great day. And if you don't mind, if you got like a moment, mark it in your calendar and go, you know what? I'm going to make a point of listening to Commotion tomorrow because I like you. I want to hang out with you, and I'd love to see you tomorrow. All right? Have a great day.